Let me tell you, the sound of a gavel freezing in midair is not something you forget, especially when it's because an 8-year-old boy just pointed right at the judge and said, "You're my real mother. I remember your perfume. I remember your lullabies." For a split second, Courtroom 7 wasn't even breathing. Every single person just stopped. And the judge, Rebecca Williams, she went pale as a ghost. That gavel finally hit the bench like a gunshot. But let's be real, the case was already out of her hands. Now, before you think this is just another courtroom drama, let me tell you what happened next. Turned into the wildest, most twisted conspiracy Detroit's ever seen. And that's saying something. Rebecca Williams had 22 years on the bench, iron reputation, stone-cold composure, the kind of judge who walked in and everyone straightened up. Born in poverty, fought her way up through law school, made her name as the Iron Lady of Justice, always composed, always in control until that October morning when an 8-year-old foster kid knocked her entire world sideways. That boy, Elijah Washington, he'd bounced through 7 foster homes since he was 3. His latest stop was with the Henderson's kind, nervous couple from the suburbs who honestly just wanted to give him a chance. But even they admitted Elijah was different. Smart as a whip, but haunted. Drew courtrooms and judges in his notebooks. Knew legal terms no third grader should know. Stared at adults like he was searching for their soul. And always said his real mother was alive, and she was a judge. That morning, the courtroom felt like any other crisp fall air. The smell of burning leaves, the usual lineup of overworked social workers and anxious families. Social worker Janet Pierce rattled off Elijah's file. Possible PTSD, attachment issues, and the fantasy about his real mother, a judge. She made it sound like just another coping mechanism, but the way Elijah watched Judge Williams, you could feel the charge in the room. It was like he was studying her, memorizing every blink, every twitch. Rebecca noticed it too, but tried to push it aside. She was a professional, after all. Still, she couldn't ignore the way Elijah tilted his head when he was thinking exactly like her. The little crescent moon birthmark on his wrist, same place as the sun she'd given up 15 years ago. And when Elijah stood up, ignored the frantic whispers to sit down, and walked to the center of the room, man, you could almost hear destiny holding its breath. He looked right at her, steady and calm, and said those words, "You're my real mother. I remember your perfume. I remember your lullabies." 7 words, and Rebecca's life shattered. People started shouting. Lawyers leapt up, bailiffs scrambled. But Rebecca? She was just sitting there, barely breathing, knuckles white on the bench, the world spinning out from under her. She called a recess, 30 minutes, but when the room emptied, she didn't move. Just reached in her desk and pulled out an old, hidden photo of her son as a baby, the same dark, intelligent eyes, the same birthmark. The photo she'd sworn never to look at for more than a second, afraid the pain would swallow her whole. But now, Elijah's face was all she could see. Let me back up. S.E.C. Rebecca hadn't always been a judge. 15 years earlier, she was a brilliant, ambitious attorney, the pride of her family's legacy. But when she got pregnant and married, young, black, and on the rise, it was career suicide. Her family, especially her mother, made it clear, keep the baby, lose the dream. So, she did what she thought was best. With the help of Robert Sterling, the family's go-to lawyer, she signed away her son for a discreet adoptiono contact. No records, no hope of ever finding him again. She named him Daniel in her heart, had 2 hours in the hospital to memorize his face, sing him lullabies, breathe him in, and let him go. Told herself it was for the best. But that discreet adoption, it wasn't what she thought. Sterling's agency wasn't placing babies with loving families. They were running a full-blown trafficking operation. Babies not adopted got dumped in foster care under fake names, lost in the system forever. When Rebecca started digging with the help of her private investigator, David Knox, she found nothing but redacted files, purged records, and a web of irregularities. The more Knox uncovered, the uglier it got. Payments to erase paper trails, children placed with families designed to break their spirits, force them to forget their pasts. Her own mother had paid extra to ensure her grandson would vanish for good. Meanwhile, Elijah, after being yanked from yet another home, ended up with Patricia, a retired teacher and veteran foster mom who'd seen every kind of hurt a kid could carry. But Elijah? He was different. He'd sit with law books instead of cartoons, ask about judicial robes and gavel rituals, talk about his mother's scent and her favorite lullaby like they were yesterday. The kicker? He described details about Rebecca's private life, her coffee shop, the blue air freshener in her car, even her ritual of visiting the botanical garden on her birthday. There's no way he could have known unless those memories were real. Rebecca knew she had to see him outside court. Official channels be damned. Patricia, seeing the hope light up Elijah's face when Rebecca called, agreed to a secret meeting. That night, Rebecca walked into Patricia's living room, and Elijah just ran to her, wrapped his arms around her waist, and said, "Mommy, I knew you'd come." All the years, all the pain gone in an instant. He remembered everything. The lullabies, the gardens, the small rituals she'd squeezed into those 2 precious hours. He even knew about the scar on her thumb from cutting herself in college. Rebecca broke down right there, and even Patricia, tough as she was, teared up. But the real gut punch? Elijah recounted the years of abuse in foster care, locked in basements for talking about his mother, punished for drawing judges, forced to sleep in garages. Every system designed to help him had tried to break him instead. "They kept telling me you were dead," he whispered. "But I always knew you were looking for me." Rebecca decided, right then, no matter the cost, she was going to blow the whole thing up. Knox started digging deeper and found that Sterling's agency had trafficked thousands of kids, some even children of other judges and prosecutors. It was all about leverage. Kids would vanish, and their parents would be controlled, blackmailed, manipulated to do Sterling's bidding. The rot ran all the way up to the State House and beyond. Then disaster. Patricia's house was broken into. Elijah was kidnapped, and a note threatened to erase him forever if Rebecca didn't stop digging. The cops, predictably, called it a runaway, shrugged off Patricia's injuries, and did nothing. Rebecca and Knox had to go rogue, using every favor, every old connection: federal agents, honest cops, other desperate parents to find Elijah. They tracked him to a facility called Riverside Youth Center, which was basically a front for trafficking. Knox got inside and found Elijah locked in a cage, literally a cage waiting to be transferred out of the country. Rebecca called in allies: another judge who'd lost her daughter, a detective whose son had disappeared, and together they staged a midnight rescue. Knox disabled security. Santos handled the guards. Phillips coordinated the children. What they found was worse than any nightmare. Dozens of kids in cages, records of systematic psychological experiments to break their spirits, video files of corrupt officials discussing children like merchandise. Even Rebecca's own mother was on tape, coldly arranging her grandson's disappearance. As they tried to escape, Sterling himself showed up with private security. But Rebecca was ready. She was already streaming everything: live cages, kids, Evidencito, every news outlet she could. The world saw the truth in real time. As FBI agents and real law enforcement finally swept in, Sterling was arrested, screaming that he'd broken Elijah on purpose, just to hurt Rebecca. She didn't flinch. "You have the right to remain silent," she said, "and I suggest you use it." The aftermath? Sterling's entire operation was exposed: judges, prosecutors, social workers, politicians, even foster families in on the take. Over 300 children were rescued. Rebecca, of course, was charged with misconduct and faced 15 years in prison, prosecuted in her own courtroom, Sterling testifying against her, spinning tales of ambition and complicity. Public opinion was split: hero or criminal. She was outnumbered, outgunned, but then Elijah testified. That boy, in a tiny suit, stared the jury down and told the world about hope and mothers who never give up. The verdict: not guilty. The jury called her actions illegal, but morally justified sometimes. You got to break the law to break the cycle. Rebecca didn't go back to the bench. Instead, she became a special prosecutor for trafficking cases. The foundation she started helped reunite lost kids with families, funded research, lobbied for better protections. Elijah, now thriving, told anyone who'd listen that he wanted to help kids like him. Every morning they'd walk through the botanical garden, the place where it all began, just a mother and her son, proof that love can survive even the worst the world can throw at it. Yeah, the system's still broken in 1,000 ways, but because Rebecca didn't back down, it's a little less dark now. So, what would you do if you discovered your child was lost in a system built to destroy families? Would you risk everything, or would you keep your head down? Comment below. Let's talk about what justice really means and how far we're willing to go to protect the people we love. If this story moved you, share it. Maybe the next person to hear it will be the one who decides to stand up and fight back. You know what I mean?